Good morning, friends. I am out here on kind of a chilly Sunday morning watering my plants. We haven't had rain in almost 30 days, which is kind of crazy since we live on the Gulf Coast. It's hurricane season. Hurricane Ian just went towards Florida. We are west of Florida, so we didn't get hit, but we had a random cold front, which then gave us a hot front, a warm front, and now we are back to expecting a cold front soon, which is it's just very strange weather for us. October here for us is always hot and just gross. Sometimes Halloween will be cool and you need to wear like a flannel or like sweater. But other years you could be sweating while you're trick-or-treating. So you never know what you're gonna get. But this year things are a little different for us because I am trying to figure out if I am going to really plant a fall garden or not. I am going to be having a hip surgery before the end of the year, and so I'm just getting more and more limited about what I can and cannot do. Now I do a lot, but if you've dealt with chronic pain or bad joints before, you know, like after a while you're just hurt, and I am to the point where I just hurt. So I am not one who necessarily wants to go do surgery. I just don't want to deal with it, but I need it. It's a quality of life. So I'm going to have it. So I am really considering what I am planting and what I am not planting this year. I'm gonna walk out and show you. I have planted my cabbage, broccoli, a few cauliflower, and I am going to figure out today what root crop I want to do. We're probably going to do some beets and carrots just because they're fun, they're delicious. Maybe some turnips. I don't even know if we'll do radishes this year. None of us really like them. It's just kind of a fun novelty for the kids because they're so easy to grow. But I will show you what's going on with my garden. You might notice this is my tomato bed. There is so much out of it. So normally these are full of my zinnias, like this right here, but they have just fallen. They have gone kind of berserk. So I've taken them out. This tomato guy is pretty much dead, but if I turn this way, this one is just like a bush, and I am just letting it go. I am not even pruning them anymore. I just don't care. I feel bad saying that, but like I really just don't care. My marigolds that I planted at the same time as the zinnias are finally blooming down here. You can see up there is a yellow marigold. I'll show you over where I pulled out a bunch of stuff. But let's move the hose. I kind of do deep water every few days because out here I really don't have to water my garden. But this year I've had to really water. I did pick all of my birdhouse gourds. I have 3 birdhouse gourds, which I'm kind of excited about. They are slowly getting lighter. They're just sitting out here while we have dry weather. Drying out, I picked my loofahs. Do I know what I'm doing with my loofahs? No, I don't. But they are slowly drying out. I left some with a lot of stem so they could dry out kind of more like they would on the vine. I did this because I had help one day and I could get a lot done. So I got a lot done. I did just pick a handful of habaneros, which I'm very excited. Habaneros are probably too hot for me, but we're gonna make a habanero peach sauce. So let me move one of my green stalks. If you guys don't have a green stalk, it is honestly, I whacked myself in the head with peppers. One of the best planter situations I can recommend for either small spaces, like if you're renting, or honestly, if you are not physically able to get down and bend. If you have like an extender wand on your hose like I do, if you're even like wheelchair, in a wheelchair, you could still water it because you could be able to reach. It is just awesome and I love it. I have wheels on the both of mine because I roll them around my little concrete area right here. And it really does help. I have two. I'm honestly debating about getting a third, but we'll see because I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. But I have taken out everything in here in this bed. So I had my okras and other things. I have a few straggler green beans that are just not doing so good because I'm not watering them good. In here I have a couple cucumbers growing. There's like nothing in here as well. There's some peppers and stuff growing here. Let's move the hose and keep going. I do have a pumpkin growing in this bed. I'm not sure what it is, but one is growing. These zinnias are very beautiful. We do have some straggler basil, but also this Genovese basil is bolted, but it is still growing so much. So if you can get your hands on these seeds, grow it. It's just like tiny basil. Let's see. You guys remember my elderberries? They are growing good. Yarrow's growing. Squash, no go again. It's just not growing. Look at these marigolds though. They're beautiful, just a big fluff. They're the tiny little button ones. I love them. So I have cleared out this bed. This is where my sweet potatoes were a disaster. You can see my blackberries again. Are they planted close together? Yes, they are planted very close together, but it's okay. I layered some compost around them, and then you'll notice this hay. This is easy mulch or something like that. I get it at Tractor Supply. It's maybe like $15 for a bag. One bag has lasted my garden area a very long time. It is cheap, it's affordable, and it's easy for me to do by myself. You just lay it down. There's sometimes seeds in it, sometimes not. It works quite well. It's just easy to get your hands on if maybe hay or like square bells, round bells are just not in your area, or if you are in a small setting, it's packaged, it's easy to move. Just don't leave it outside, it can mold. But I have ripped out my loofahs. You can see now here, these are clean. Everything in my garden is cleaned up. It is crazy. It has not been this clean in a while. I even have a tomato right here. Look, that is a tomato. I don't really care though right now because it's just where I am, how I'm feeling. And sometimes you just have to give. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm just giving. So I'm gonna water this. Once I get done watering out here, I'm gonna go show you where I planted all my cabbages out front. The plant's right here. Right there by your toes. That one right there. This one? Yep. Here's a look at all the cabbages and broccoli, cauliflower, as well as a few flowers like borage, calendula, and some zinnias. A lot of my plants had crazy bug damage because it was so hot, and I just kind of let them sit in the shade and kept them alive, but they got damaged. So after I picked off all the bugs and planted them, they are now happy and they are growing great. I'm hoping we get something. So here's some of the zinnias I planted up here in my front little pot garden that always seems to be expanding. Some zinnias, a lupine, and a nasturtium ended up in that pot. And I also have more. You guys, I have so many. The three big ones are artichokes, which I'm very excited about. But some stragglers like chamomile, which is always a hard plant to grow for us because we're usually so warm. These are some of my last summer zinnias hanging on. And here's my onion fun. I bought a bunch of onions back in the spring or very early summer, and they have lasted, but they are just starting to go bad. So I cut out all the bad spots and I froze them because
That is the best thing about onions. They are
So
so convenient
so
when
convenient.
pre-chopped.
Onions. I got one nice full gallon bag, one like half to 2/3 full. My onions were just going so bad, way worse than I thought. This is my big 13-quart full. There's just so many onions that ended up rotting, just going bad. I got these onions back in the spring, and they store up there in that basket. So they're not stored perfectly for long-term storage, but what works for our house. So it was just time for them to become chopped onions, and I just store them in the freezer and use as normal.
Here is some peach habanero hot sauce that I made, and it smells delicious. It smells hot, but it smells delicious. It is for some Christmas presents. I'm happy to have that done. I also dug out my apple core spiralizer. I got this for $1 last year, and it works phenomenal. So good. So I used it to peel a ton of apples, and it's just one of those fun old kitchen tools to have. This one I have is vintage, but they do make new ones. You can find it on Amazon and other food stores, but I highly recommend you grabbing one if you are going to be processing a ton of apples like I did this year. This week I also processed 80 pounds of sweet potatoes. So I canned, dehydrated, and froze sweet potatoes. Plus, we ate a whole bunch, but oh my goodness, so much to get done.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh yes, huh? Oh yes. Hello friends. I realized I have not wrapped up this video. So you saw me chopping apples. I dehydrated a ton, and I got a half-gallon jar. So they're just plain apples dehydrated. They're like candy. They are delicious. Nobody in my house likes them but me. So it's my special sweet treat, and I have to ration those because I could go through them so easy. So easy. If you've never had dehydrated apples, you need to. One of the other things I've been working on is working through my list of things that need to get canned or preserved, I should say preserved in some way, before I have hip surgery. So I'm having a hip replacement. It's just not something I thought I was going to be having in my early 30s, but I need it. I'm getting it. But I had like 85-ish pounds of sweet potatoes that just weren't storing good. It's not that they weren't storing good, I guess I should say. It's not, we just weren't storing them at optimal conditions. And because of that, it was just way too warm. This October seems to be a lot warmer than I think last October, or I just bought them later in the year than I remember. So I had 2 bushels, each 40 pounds. I have a dozen here that are going on the shelf that are canned quarts. I have 1 quart that didn't seal. It's in the fridge. We'll just use like mashed sweet potatoes. One of my quarts actually broke. I have a bunch in the freezer. I have 4.5 gallon bags full of diced sweet potatoes, and then quite a few bags of pureed sweet potatoes to save for future meals. I like throwing them in dishes, soups, just roasting them, heating them back up. It's just such an easy like filler item that has nutrients, color, and it's a pretty color in the winter. And sometimes I think sweet potatoes are just better than regular potatoes. It depends on my mood. But potatoes, I don't know about you, potatoes in general are not storing well, and they are god awful expensive right now. So sweet potatoes it is, especially because I bought These were all #1 potatoes. Very, very cheap for the amount I got. So, I've also canned, what was it? Some Salsa Verde. I had to use up our tomatillos. I didn't film it. I just, when I get into, you know, things got to get done. So I canned Salsa Verde. I canned a habanero peach hot sauce. That will be some for us, some to gift to friends and family who like hot things. I did a round of smoked pork beans. So I canned pinto beans, but I threw a little bit of pork in them. So it's like a pork and beans, but it was a smoked pork, and it uses them up. So it'll be fun to pull out later to have some smoky beans. It's just different than, you know, your normal plain beans. What else have I been doing? I feel like I've canned a lot lately. I also have on my canning list, I have to finish apples. I have a whole bunch more apples. I'm going to turn them into apple pie, and apples in syrup, and dehydrate a bunch more apples. I want to can some ground beef broth, green beans, and then a couple more rounds of just regular beans of different types. Some pinto, black, kidney, and I think we have white beans, like cannellini beans, just to have on hand for going through the winter. With me going through surgery, having some prepped beans and meat will be just more convenient on my husband, because he will have to pick up the slack of cooking. I usually do like 95% of the cooking. He does cooking when he can, but I enjoy being in the kitchen. I'm one that when he cooks, I like end up kicking him out of the kitchen. So he's gonna get his taste of cooking here soon. But he is currently hunting. It is hunting season and this weekend for us. It opens as I'm wrapping up this video. So our hope is some deer, some hog, and fill up the freezers. So I do a lot of the preserving and stuff. He does a lot of the hunting and stuff. So each way we're providing food for our family, which we think is very important, and to teach our kids where food comes from. So I'm gonna wrap up. Thank you guys for joining me with this video. It's a little bit all over the place, but I'm having fun doing these kind of little tidbit videos instead of one long day video. It's just a little easier for me, but I have to remember to wrap things up. So I will see you guys next time for next week's video, and we'll see what trouble we get ourselves into. See you good night later, friends.